Hare Krishna everyone. Welcome to the regular Sunday evening Devotee Care seminar or class on Devotee Care. So we'll just have a small kirtan before we start. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Chana Vallabha Jaya Giri Varadhari Jaya Giri Varadhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayara Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Dava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giri Varadhari Jaya Giri Varadhari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Annatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadrama Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Ranitai Jaya Gauranitai Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Namo Vishnupad Param Savashtra Shadina Veshesi Bhakti Tantra Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Kodi Vaishnava Ki Jai Namacharya Sharidas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadvaita Gadadhar Shri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Radha Gopinath Ki Jai Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Ki Jai Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai All glories to us. All glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Guru. Jai. So Hare Krishna. I got to remove my glasses because I hate wearing the mask because it just fogs up your spectacles. I was given an option to take the class from from the comforts of the home, but it's actually sometimes nice because for me, anything you do for the first time in material life or in spiritual life, it's quite exciting. I never knew, I'd never known when the next time you'll get a chance to give a class wearing a mask. So first time is interesting, so I thought I'll make it happen. So Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you for weekly, regularly tuning into the Devotee Care classes on Sunday evenings. So just an update, I thought it would be good to know for the wider community and for the congregation as well. So we are planning to have some training sessions for the mentors and buddies who have come forward, and so we're planning to roll out the mentorship program officially by end of Feb, the earliest or latest, because we got a 4 weeks training. It's anybody who wants to be mentored, they have to undergo proper training and understand the values and the reasons behind why this is important, how it can nourish the devotees of the community. So that's planning to start from next Sunday, going for another 4 weeks. So after that, we would have all these other things that actually have to happen as part of the implementation will roll over, and slowly the system will will be used, and then we can add more people and more buddies, more mentors, and see how we can extend it to the whole of the congregation. That's the plan. So today, this topic is similar, scriptural as well as very much we can relate to as well. So this is kind of the stages of life, or in other terms, you can also call it the decades of the life. So basically, as we know, in Vedic terms, we read in Prabhupada's books that the life cycle of a person is explained in Vedic timeline as somebody taking birth, and they're growing and then producing byproducts or reproduction, and then remaining like that for some time, and then dwindling, and then finally passing away, which is the life cycle of every human being or every living entity, to be precise. Now, similar to how we have seasons, our life cycle also has certain predictable or systematic happenings, which could be more physical and emotionally and also spiritually kind of similar, and that determines how we react or how we actually see life. And there's always the time factor, which is the stages of life. Now, why, when you say devotee care program, it is of eternal truth that chanting the holy name will actually destroy most of our inabilities, or help us overcome what we lack. There is no question about that. But there are some things that we need to do at certain stage, and if we know that beforehand and we have knowledge of that, then we would be in a better position, or we would be better placed to actually work to actually solve that, or work in a way where the damage can be minimized or mitigated. Now, for simple example, right? So, as devotees, if we get married, the right way to do things is basically to see for a match, do a horoscope match, so that we see whether these two personalities align together so that they can live a happier and fulfilling and a conducive lifestyle for a long time. And even if you're building a house, even though we might not look into the nth detail of Vastu Shastra, so we look at least the basics. Vastu is okay, so that the harmony in the home will be there. And in similar ways, life also has these things, a lot of things. Of course, chanting helps. Chanting is the prime benediction for humanity at large. But there are some subtle details, if you know, will be good. So this is where devotee care program comes into play, where if that support is given, and if people whom you are supporting are actually there to guide you in those situations, then you can actually basically mitigate those troubles. The reason why we read Bhagavatam, why we read Bhagavad Gita, why we read books, and then why we hear into a lot of lectures, is because whatever is given in Bhagavatam or in the Bhagavad Gita is actually great pure devotees, Maharajas, different advanced devotees and senior devotees, they give class. What is the reason for us listening to that? The reason is, if we tend to go and read everything and understand, it might take another 20-30 years to understand the essence of it. But just by hearing them and hearing their realization, what could even basically take about 20 years, we could actually get that in the next 2 hours, at least theoretically. Putting it practically, we can reduce it to at least 5 to 10 years, if you are sincere. So that helps. So similarly, when we know about these things, a devotee, when he has a guide, somebody whom they can actually confidentially reveal their mind and get guidance from, and that person, a mentor or a buddy, can actually give them that direction. And that mentor doesn't have to be a perfect guy. We're not looking for perfectionists. We are looking for people who have the desire or the intent to help others. So if that person doesn't even know how to deal with certain situation, as a mentor and mentor, we want to have that communication as well. So it's not that once you become a mentor or somebody who's a mentor, he has this group of people whom he has to take care, and then he's left on his own. All mentors and buddies, they have to meet each other and get to know each other and learn how to work together, and they have to associate, or similar to have mentor and mentee having a catch up once in a fortnight. The mentors all around Sydney, somebody is from Vaman Kshetra or from Parthasarthi Ashram to people, somebody in the southern part of from Blacktown to Hornsby to Schofield. Everybody, all the mentors, they have to come together once in 2 months to sit and talk and get to know each other and get to know their other mentors' kids and other mentors' family members, understand their situation, how was their life going, and what challenges they are facing, what realizations that they have got in this 2 months, and create that forum where some mentor could be good in some areas and someone could be good in some areas, and somebody would not be that skillful in certain areas. Exchange ideas and help each other. That's mostly very important thing. So coming to here, so similar to seasons of the earth, our life also has different seasons, which are systematic and predictable, influenced by time. Now, though we have our unique and personal experiences with our life, but there are quite a lot of similarities, which if we understand, which will make our life much more easier. So we can say it as a decades of life. So divided into each decade. Now each decade has a challenge by itself.
Now, if we know that, and somebody like me or most of us who are close to 40, we can't know, we can't change the past, but if we can change the future and understand what is that we actually didn't accomplish in the past, and we can actually try to make it up, we can actually move forward. So if you don't, the reason is sometimes you might feel a bit cheated by life itself, and you might feel a certain way that you are actually seeing life, and you feel a certain emotion towards certain events in life. Now, if you understand why they are being caused, then you can at least relate to and understand what is that hurt you before, or what happened there, and that is the reason I'm reacting in a certain way at this current moment. Now, if we actually, like, every decade has a challenge of its own, right? Similar, if you want to put it very in a simple way, like child goes to school. In kindergarten, you expect the child to kind of know, when it finishes kindergarten, know certain amount of knowledge, or learn to a certain level. And then there could be kids who are doing really well, there could be kids who are average, and there will be kids who are just meeting expectation. Now, when they move to year 1 or the next grade, they pick it up from where they left off, and then they kind of keep going. But in kindergarten itself, you are not even meeting the expectation. You literally, like you finish, let's say the kid has finished kindergarten, the kid doesn't know how to write A, doesn't even know how to write its name. Then if it goes to year 1, it's going to be a challenge, a bigger challenge. Everybody has challenges, not a problem. That's the acceptable fact. But the other kid who did not meet the expectations of what a kid should learn in kindergarten will struggle a bit more and might think that it's a failure. It's not a failure. Everybody has the unique characteristics of personality which Krishna is immensely blessed with. Nobody is a failure. Everybody has something to offer to Krishna, and everybody has something to offer to humanity, to work, to life, to family, everything. There's no question about that. But they might feel that they are a failure. Similarly, our decades, each decade has some challenges and some learnings that we need to do. And if we haven't done that, and we move from one decade to another without healthily, in a healthy way, passing over the learnings from the previous decade, then you're starting the decade on a back foot, and then it will basically you will feel the pressure going into the new one. So let's look at the first 10 years of our life. The first 10 years of our life is a point where, or the first 10 years of the life of a kid is determined by the quality of care and attention that it receives from its primary caretaker. Could be mother, father, sometimes could be grandmothers, uncles, anyone. Now, the experience of the child in the first 10 years is where it molds how much it can trust the people around it. Now, that's why in psychological and in terms, or in the, when you learn about psychology, it says that the trauma that happened to you, or like happens to a child when it's small, will have a long lasting effect in its life. And sometimes if there is no proper attention or like therapy done to it, it never goes away. It can be treated, but then it takes a long time. So that's why the first formative years of the kid is very, very vital. Very vital. Now, as I said, at this stage, the child doesn't know anything, right? I know by the time they reach year 10, they're already in year 3 or year 4. But that is something, that's a side thing, that's on the back burner. But during those first 10 years, what the child is learning is who are my primary caretakers and how much love the child is receiving, and because of that, the child learns whom to trust and how to relate, how to trust another person, how to bond with someone, how do I make friends, how do I trust my friends, how do I actually go out and enjoy being with people, right? Now, if in that lifespan, if that child does not have a good relationship with his primary caretaker, it's been neglected or abused in some ways, the child doesn't actually understand or doesn't develop that skill of trusting anyone. Now, you might see the patterns, like sometimes during world wars, during wartime, you'll see always the next generation, the kids who are during the wartime, when they always grow up to oppose the authority. They never believe the authority, whoever is ruling their country. That's because because they were born during a unfortunate wartime, and because their parents were so engaged in other things, because it's wartime, it's not a normal time, they were living in survival mode. So they were not given that care and nourishment during their younger years. They were either neglected, or they were left to take care of themselves, or they were put in a foster home, or that they did not get much nourishment and love and care. And sometimes even you see, sometimes even people who are well off, but the parents are really busy, so they have put a nanny or some caretaker, and the caretaker is not engaging with the child in a very personal and loving way, so that when the child grows up, it grows up not having a connection with his parents. Now, when you see someone who's actually against the authority, or like somebody who doesn't trust their parents, somebody who doesn't want to be with people and stuff like that, it could be because they did not get the care and nourishment and the love and care in their formative years. Now, what is this tells about us, our current situation is, yes, it is very important for the kids to learn about Krishna's Leelas, Krishna's stories and everything, and about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. All this is very important. But the most important thing in these formative years is the love and care that they receive from their parents. Because what we're saying is, a spiritual master is as I said, a Guru Maharaj is a spiritual father. Spiritual master, you can say spiritual father. And then we're saying Shri Shri Radha Gopinath is our eternal father and mother. And Srila Prabhupada is our eternal guide. He's our authority in the knowledge that we are actually asking the kids to follow. Now, in these formative years, if the focus is just the kid could be chanting, the kid could be knowing all the pastimes of Krishna and everything, but if it does not get the love and affection of the parents, the bonding is not there, then it will grow up to not trusting the authority or not trusting. I'm not saying authority in sense of principle or anything like in terms of the prime minister or the temple authority. It'll grow up not trusting any authority. Their teachers, their bosses, their direct line managers, the person who might be in a nice way trying to help that person in their teens or any time, they wouldn't trust. So, as important as it is to actually incorporate that devotional values, it's very, very important, because you need to understand these are the formative ages where they're actually learning how to trust their carers, their primary caregivers, and it goes into authority later in the life. So that's very important. If we miss this chance when they were in the first decade, then it's hard to. But otherwise, kids who are nourished and happy and who have loving experiences and they've been cared for, they grow up to trusting everyone. They're growing up in a very, very balanced mental frame of mind. And now, when they actually move from that phase into the, what do you call this, second decade, which is between 11 to 20 years. So, here, time as nature pushes them to take responsibility of their own. And till now, the value system of the kid is basically what's the value system of the parents. So, the parents did things certain way, the kid does things certain way. Now, this is the age where we call the teenage. I know 11 to 20 is a broad one, but then they grow. And Bhakti Vidyapurna Maharaj also said that if you want to train a kid, or if you want to make sure the habits are formed or something, it's until year 9. After year 9, it's a bit hard to form habits. So because they start to think about, they know the world, they've seen the world, they want to see how they fit in. They start to think independently. And that's where the teenage comes in. They actually start to question the value, what they think it is. It's been imposed on them. This is where sometimes you feel that even if they're born in a devotional environment, they might want to experiment something else. They want to go and try something else. They want to take a break. They want to try different things, and friends become more closer than family and parents, because they want to form their own value system. And this is where the whole thing about rebellious nature comes in. But they want to create their own value system, but they want to be independent as well. But at this age, they don't have the enough knowledge and wisdom to take full responsibility of life. So that's where they lack. That's where when we parents, we would say about, you don't know what you're signing up for, or I know I've done that. It's not going to end up nice, or if you do this one, you will understand when you fail or when things don't go well. But they don't listen to us or listen to parents, because they feel that they want to have their own identity. So it's their rebellious time. So as parents, we need to manage them, but we need to be more of a friend than a parent. Because as I said, they listen more to their friends. Because if you're being authoritative, it doesn't work that way, because they're looking for their own life. So it's good to be a friend and then be with them and try to guide them rather than order them. And what happens if they pass those teenage years between 11 to 20 without much damage, then they go into a very healthy, self-believing adults. If they're properly nourished in their first 10 years and properly guided in their 11 to 20 years, then they grow enter the third decade as very self-believing adults, trusting themselves. Now, from 21 to 30, which is the third decade, the two things can happen. Sometimes people who are quite decisive about what they want in life, and very goal-oriented, they choose to take an initiative and think, this is what I want to be. Because that's the time when you basically enter uni, and then you start your first job within this period. So if they're clear in their mind, they have initiative and they drive, they actually go to achieve that. But sometimes when that person doesn't have that clarity, sometimes they may just flow through the life with no direction, just taking up anything, doing this, doing that, without much idea about what they want to do. And I can reflect back myself as well in those years. I finished my uni, I sat for my GRE to pursue a study, education in the United States, but I didn't have the right marks. And then I didn't know whether I should do MBA or I should go for a job. And suddenly one day my dad came and told me like, oh, there's somebody talking about pursuing higher studies in Australia. And I'm like, okay, fine, let me do that. So I did not have anything. I just wanted to just try out. I didn't have any direction. And eventually I came to Australia. So similarly, sometimes some person would have a very clear idea of what they want to do, and you can't change that. But somebody doesn't have any idea, you just want to try it out and do everything. And at the end of the decade, this decade, when they're about reaching around 29, 30 years, now either it's not a rule that those people who had the initiative, had a drive, they ended up being settled and well organized, having a well organized life. It doesn't happen always that way. Some people who might just not have any idea about how their life wants to move, but they kind of hit a point where they understand this is what I want to do in the middle of all that searching out. And at the end of 30 years, sometimes if they're not, those people who have let the life flow, compare their self-initiated peers having been settled and having a good job and maybe would have got married, they feel a bit inferior because they are not at the point where they actually have a settled life to look forward. So that becomes a great burden. So, but once you are in that phase where you actually settle in everything, then you move in a healthy way towards the next phase of your life, which is the fourth decade, which is from 30 to 40 years. Now when you move into that, then what happens is this phase is about you settled in something, you maybe got married or you got a house or you have a proper job. This is a phase where you actually develop your competency. So your competency, and you become excel in whatever you want to do, in the way in the area that you choose. Now this decade is all about hard work, because you might have kids during this decade, most of us, and you have to put in a lot of hard work and sacrifice and juggling things, and you also need, and this is a phase where you see how you can improve on your career, grow on your career. So, and you really work hard. So this phase is quite an industrious phase of life, where you kind of think that if I don't work hard, I can't meet my dreams, or I can't achieve my dreams. So you just push yourself in all fronts, because the kids would be small and then they need your attention, and then they will maybe start school, and the kids, they change it, the phases you have to go through with kids itself is demanding, and then with your job you might have to you might be in a position where you're given more responsibility with the job, because when you're in the previous phase, 21 to 30, you might have started a job, you might be just doing what is required, but now you'll be looked up as a person who's experienced in job as well, and is a person who can take responsibility and deliver things with minimal or no monitoring of from anybody. So you have to be a self-motivator and start doing things on your own rather than somebody pushing you from the back. So this is a very important phase, that life. And once you feel that you're good at something, you know what your strengths are and weaknesses, then you healthily grow into the next phase. Now, very important to note that 40, usually they call it the middle age crisis. When the people hit 40, there seems to be some people feel that they're a bit disturbed when they hit 40. There is some soul searching happening when they hit 40 or then around 40. Now that is because we start to wonder, now is this all it is? What I am now, is it what I am in real? Is what my real self is? And we start to question that the value system that we actually had, or we actually believed, or we thought that this is the right value system, because from 0 to 9 years or 10 years, your value system was more based on what your parents said. Now, in your from second decade, you start to think independently, and we have formed our own value system. Now, in this decade, we start to question that, was it the right thing that you did, the value system that I wanted to achieve, or I decided that this is the one that I'm going to live my life for? Is it right? Because that value system was more very generically on hard work, achieving yourself, proving yourself. Now, when you hit 40, you start to think about, is it all it is to life? All about working hard and working like an ass, running here, running there. Is there no other purpose to life as more than that? It's something that very strikingly hits us. Now, we think, is there any higher cost to life? Now, and we also think about, what is that unique feature or unique contribution that I can make to the world? It could not be in a big way, it could be in a very small way, but then it basically asks, we tend to ask that question. And also, in psychological terms, they say it is middle essence, because the body also starts to change when you hit 40. If you don't feel any changes or don't see much change within your body, in the beginning of this decade, between 41 to 50, now at least by the time you head to 50, you will certainly see there is a lot of change from your body, the energy level and the way your body works, what you felt, the time when you felt you're undefeatable, indefeatable, you have all the energy in the world. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. So it creates some anxiety. So these points are quite nice to know, because then you know exactly what's happening. So it's not just you. Because most of the time what happens is, when we hit a crisis, or we hit a point where we're going through some difficult phases, we always think it's just me. Everybody around doesn't have this problem. I'm having this problem, and I don't know how to deal with it. But knowing this, you can understand that everybody goes through these problems. Everybody has these questions, and it will be really nice, and it will help you to open up and ask these questions to your mentor, or ask this question to your fellow friends or fellow devotees, or anyone whom you are comfortable or confident in, to share this. This is how I'm feeling. Whoa, I feel a bit overwhelmed by the whole situation, and there could be help from where you don't expect. Now, during this phase of 40 to 50 years old, time in the form of nature asks this very important question: who are you really? And someone might take a spiritual path, somebody might take a very, I want to be a rich man. Anyway. But for us, we will come to a conclusion that I want to be this joyful, eternal person, and that I'm also, you kind of understand more what you've been reading, that I'm part of this eternal, part and parcel of this eternal joy that is there in this world, or this eternal truth. So, once you have this knowledge, then you healthily progress to the next phase of life. Now, the thing you have to understand is, once, like how a child goes from kindergarten to year 1 to year 2, year 3, if it understands the essence of that, of the year that it's passed, and what it's the essence of what it's learned, it can actually take it over to the next one and progress. Now what's happening here is, again, when you have those crisp understandings, then you can actually go to the next phase, which doesn't mean that you're going to have a very happy next decade, because the other decade has some other problems or some challenges. Now if you have actually solved this problem, then you are in a very healthy state of mind to address that. So when you're in the 6th decade, which is around which is the 51 years to 60 years, then you slowly start to learn how to start loving or loving yourself, and that becomes more of your interest and focus, because now you see around 50 to 60 years during the time, if you have kids, if they are born when you are about 25 years old, they are 25 years old now. Either they have moved out, or they have their own family, or they are in the phase where they're very independent. Now you might feel, someplace you might feel the relief that, okay, my kids are grown up. I don't have to worry about them. I don't have to think about taking them to the dancing class or swimming class, or to their school, or to their friend's place. Now they are quite independent. They are doing their own. I feel that I have got some time back in my life which I have been missing. It could be one thing. But another challenge that this phase or this decade poses in front of us is that if the kids are moved out and you feel that vacuum, you feel that isolation, you feel that loneliness, and in this phase you're a bit surprised. You initially are happy with the time that you got back, but then you also don't know, you don't seem to have something to work for, those intimate relationships that you had with kids, and that person that you always wanted to put your energy towards is suddenly missing. And sometimes when in this phase, when the spouse has passed away, that becomes a very challenging phase, because they don't know where to. There's a conflict between where can I find these meaningful relationships, because everybody is kind of busy with their life, and what can I do? And the healthier way to actually overcome that is that if we actually start to love others, expand our love to a wider range of humanity, then it becomes, we start to see that our relationships are blossoming. In that way, we also at this age, we actually kind of understand that we look back at our age, if we have all been healthily, we have come through healthily, how much love has actually played a role in healing so many things. We might have lost a friend, and we might have got very less marks in certain tests, or we may have lost our first job, or we may have had very bad experiences with interviews, and the person whom we loved would have left us. We would have struggles with job. very demanding managers, and we would have had kids, new relationships born in our family. And through all these struggles, we see how love was that common thread which helped us heal and overcome the challenge, overcome the difficulty. So at this point of time, we would basically understand to ourselves that I'm here because of all the love and nourishment and the guidance that was given to me. Now I owe it back to the whole humanity. This is where we actually, in a very healthy way, come to it. So we move, if we successfully resolve this challenge about isolation and intimacy and expand our capacity to love, we actually very healthily progress to the next stage. And we develop the virtue of love for the sake of higher purpose in life. And we're ready to take up the challenges of the 60s, which is the 7th decade of our life, which is from 61 years to 70 years. Now with this decade, the previous decade, we started, the difference between that one and this one is, we actually became truly loving self, and that was the main focus of that last decade. But between 61 and 70, we try to become a caring self. How do we care for us and then for the other people? So we tend to kind of be challenged on what is real care for people, what is real care. And then we go into what was called a generative, where we want the next generation to know what is good for them. So that's where, even in 60 years, and you have your grandparents saying that when we were there, during our times, we did this, that, we did this, we did that, we never did this thing, and we were happy because of that, and all these things. And that's where grandparents tell stories to grandkids, and stories to people, and through that, a lot of wisdom is passed from one generation to another one. And this is a very important phase, because if you don't deal with it, resolve with this phase in a nice way, where you actually look to care for others, then this conflict will, the other side of it, you'll become stagnant and disconnect yourself from life and waiting for death to come. Now, so for every decade there's a purpose. But if you don't take up the purpose, then what happens is basically you get so annoyed with life. You get so annoyed with people around. You feel that life is unfair, and you basically lose the interest of living. Now, if that happens, then that's it. There's no coming back. But for every phase, if you understand what is the purpose of that phase and what are the challenges that phase or that decade brings in, then what you can do is you can prepare yourself. Now, if you take up that role, even if you don't have grandchildren, you can. I've seen my friends' grandparents. They have their kids, and they're all grown up, and they have their kids as well, and their kids are grown up as well, and so they're going to uni, and so there's no connection between the grandparents and the grandsons, because the grandsons also have grown up. I've seen those grandparents actually going thrice in a week to orphanage and spending time with kids. When I knew them, they were about like 67 or 68 or 69, something around that age, closing to 70. And this is a fact. They want to share their knowledge and wisdoms to someone. And they are not devotees, of course. They weren't devotees, so there's nobody to sit and listen to them. So they actually made a choice to go to the orphanage and teach kids and spend time with kids in the orphanage who who actually earned for that. Wouldn't somebody come and show care and love and spend time with us? And in that way, they're living their old age between the seventh decade in a very purposeful way. So this is the way that we can actually learn that we have a choice. If we want to add purpose to the decade that we're living, we can actually make the choice. So this age, what happens is mostly you gather knowledge as well. You might know so much from your previous reading, but you also gather knowledge and you want to give it back to the community or to the next generation. Now, going to the 8th decade, which is from 71 to 80 years, if we happen to live that long, the attribute that we need to develop is to be a wise self. So, using all the knowledge that you have gained in the previous decade, we need to analyze and gather our thought process from from getting despaired and disgusted in life. If we can, that's the main thing, because we're moving to a phase where health becomes really questionable depending on what the lifestyle is. So instead of seeing life as a burden, you have to reconcile with oneself, or we have to reconcile with oneself that with all the knowledge that we have and the wisdom, we need to move forward. And once you resolve this conflict, then you're in a healthy way to actually move to the next decade, which is the 9th decade, which is from 81 years to 90 years old. Now this is where the challenge of this decade of between 81 and 90 years is to the point where we develop the quality of grace, or to have a graceful self, and having the inner tendency of letting go and wrestling with the inner tendency of letting go and letting the control off, and just living life just like that, with no expectations. And the most important thing is that in this phase we might come to that understanding that that survival is a losing battle, because we try to survive through those years, but now we are there, between 80 and 81, 90 years, we feel that surviving seems to be a losing battle. And inevitably, nature will push us forward through these different seasons or phases, regardless of our desire to stop it. Now at this age of where I'm close to 40, the tendency would be I want to have the same energy as when I was in 20s or 30s. How can I be fit so that my health doesn't deteriorate? And I personally have this feeling that I should have this, I should be very cautious in my eating habits and my routine and in my sleeping pattern. And sometimes when I read that, it's about the way you hold your phone and mobile phone, the amount of time you bend your neck, it strains your neck, so it might lead to other chronic pains later. So you try to correct some of that, and you know that sitting is the new cancer or the new smoking. So you try to be cautious that I don't want to be sitting in the same place for a long time. I want to just get up to get a water and keep your body moving, and all these things there, because we understand that our energy level might fall or drop during the next decade. So I don't want to be that way. So I want to be precautionary, and I have to be proactive to it. But in this phase, when you're in 81 to 90, that doesn't work that much. You feel that no matter whatever you do, time factor is going to push you, and these seasons are going to change, or life will move forward no matter how much you want to stop it. At 40, I think that I can stop it, because I have the energy. If I just be active and work out or do exercise and then go for a long walk, I can still maintain that energy. But at 81 to 90, you come to that very, very vivid understanding that it's not going to work, no matter what I do. So, at this time we actually kind of, how can I say, relinquish the desire to control and completely surrender to time. Now as a devotee we might completely surrender to Krishna. So other people who are not devotees, they don't know who God is, they just surrender to life. They said, I don't think I've lost. I thought that I could always get a better of time. I can beat time, but now they've actually surrendered completely. Now, in the last decade, which is basically, I don't know how many, very, very small percentage of the population lives over 100 years, which is between 91 to 100 years, the wrestle is with the inner struggle. Every day, surviving is a struggle in between 81 to 100 years. But still you're surviving. And whether you're a devotee or a non-devotee, as a devotee you would desire for that eternal life. As a non-devotee, I don't know what goes through the mind, but they might be desiring that they never die. They just want to be like that way. They understand that they're struggling to survive, and everyday survival is a painful act, but they still, because of the attachments, they're just holding on to that. It's a painful situation. But for devotees, at least we have that option that if you have spent this whole lifetime in a very positive, devotional, Krishna conscious way, we know that either we go back to Krishna, because it's still in Krishna's hand, or even at least in our next birth, we might get a chance to actually correct the mistakes that we did in this life, and then at least go back to Krishna or back to Godhead in the end of next lifetime. But Prabhupada very, very mercifully has said that by following this process of Krishna consciousness, we can actually go back to Godhead in this lifetime. So it's up to us whether we go in this lifetime or next lifetime. But at least our state is, we're progressing. At least we have this confidence we will be in a better position. We'll be better devotees in our next life. Now, the reason for understanding these different phases of life is that we can be mindful. So, for example, it reminds me of these of the squirrels. The squirrels in the autumn season, they actually go and collect all these nuts and things and everything, and they actually kind of save them for the winter season. Now, this autumn, which is basically around year 40 to 60, I guess, is basically sometimes the phase of life where we can take time to pause and check with ourselves. What have we been doing for the past 40 years? And where has it led us? And do we want to continue doing the same things? And I'm not saying in a way demeaning the path that you've taken. Like even if you're a devotee, we might see that we might not have been doing the things the way we wanted to be, because everybody wants to be a pure devotee. But the things that we were doing might not be the route for us to pure devotee, because we were wasting time in different things. So it might be a time to think, introspect whether this is how we want our life next 20 years to be. And between 40 to 60, we would still have that energy. After 60, I don't know. I've been there, but I don't remember being there in my past life. I don't know how it feels. So at least till 60, we at least confident that we'll have the energy to do things. So how do we want to use those next 20 years is a question. And we need to identify where we are in this season, and just take stock of all the knowledge that we have gathered and all the understanding, and see how we can actually basically make use of that lifetime, of the time left in our life. So the reason for actually saying this, giving this, taking this topic is to reiterate how much important a guidance in our life will actually be in these different phases. And the reason for the mentoring program is to actually give that support system to everyone within our congregation. And we got mentors who are young and middle-aged and who are actually quite experienced, and senior devotees as well. So it gives a wide spectrum of vision in a person's life. And when with that knowledge and with the combined with the spiritual knowledge that we're getting from reading Srila Prabhupada's books, I'm pretty confident that just with this mentorship program we can actually take care of devotees. And everybody, it's everybody's need. Everybody, when we had those Yatra leaders meeting a couple of times, one of the main points of discussion was that we need to care for devotees. And the question is not that devotees are not being cared. There are some areas where devotees are very nicely taken care of. And there are some sectors where devotees are not taken care to the level, to the standard that's needed. And that is because of different circumstances. Because there might be a devotee who might be a very people person, and for him taking care of people would be the most important thing. And no matter if he's in the kitchen, or if he's in the fundraising team, or if he's in the Harinam team, or if he's in the book distribution team, or if he's in the garlands team, anywhere, he would take that as a priority and care for the people who are under him. And there could be other person who might be taking a class, or even having this guiding devotees, but he might not be a people's person. So he might do it as duty, but then he's not really connected to it. Like for example, if you ask me to give an example, like there might be a friend, you have friends, right? So let's say you go out with your friends, and then you tell to a couple of friends or three of your friends that some challenges or difficulties they're going through in your life. Now all three might actually feel, will empathize with you, will actually advise you, and will actually say that, like, we are there and everything. But then once you leave, out of those three, there's only one person who calls you after 2 days to check on you. How are you doing? How is things going in your life? Is there anything that I can help you? The other two might not call up. And you might meet them the next time you meet them when you go out. Now, it's not that the other two people don't care about this person. You have to understand it's just the nature of the person. Some people are people oriented. For them it's quite important. And this person might want to know, I want to check on him and see how things are going, because we did speak on Sunday, and I don't know what happened, maybe something with the office or home or something. Okay, let me check on, picks up the phone, gives you a call on Tuesday. But other two might think, he did say, and we said that we gave our opinion, or we gave our what we thought about it. So he should be fine. He's a grown up. He should be able to figure it out. Now there's nothing wrong on them, but the thing is, it's how that the person who has undergone the difficulty feels. Right? So similarly, there might be other people who are devotees who you can't say that devotees under them not being taken care. It's because he's not a people person. His vision is different. He's very task oriented or goal oriented. For him, the task is done, goal is done, then it's a success. But for a people oriented person, the task and goal is there, but then how did the people feel, and how did they bond together when they were actually doing the task and while the goal was achieved? That is more important. So there's two different natures. So being a mentor or buddy is basically, we need to be, as a mentorship committee as well, when somebody comes to us saying that I want to be a mentor or buddy, we ask them the questions, we ask them what is their intent of actually taking up this role, and what is that they want to, what to achieve and how are they planning to take care of people. We do ask, I'm not saying it's interrogation, but I'll say we want to have the right person as a mentor or buddy. Because as you say, like, you don't choose your parents, right? But then you choose your friends. So you have the choice to choose your mentor. And if, for example, if a person who's not a people's person, or who doesn't have that the inner intent to actually help people, if he becomes a mentor, then he might create more disturbance in the people who are under him, rather than if it will be better off of the people who put under him if that person doesn't exist. So we need to make sure that mentor is a person who was very driven to help people and support people, and he's happy to give his time, because it's not a 9-to-5 job being a mentor. Because how would you feel if you worked your you get 100% in office from 9 to 6, and you come home and you're having dinner with your family, and the guy whom you were actually teaching at work the task, he calls you up and says, I have a doubt in the steps that you thought, can you have a chat, can I have a chat with you? You would be pissed off. You would say, this is not the time, can we look at it tomorrow? But a mentor can't say that. Because it should be ingrained, that caring for people should be ingrained in him. It's not a 9-to-5 job. So of course balance needs to be there. That's why we have the important thing that we actually are saying is that we are going to implement as mentorship program is, when you become a mentor, that's nice, you can take care of people, but you as a mentor should also have a mentor. A mentor doesn't work independently. Because if that structure is not there, then who's going to take care of the leaders? The mentor is supposed to be a leader, so who's going to take care of the leader? And the mentor is not taken care, then if he has issues, who is he going to address? Who his issues are going to address by? And it also doesn't give a good it's a good example of people that somebody is happy to guide someone, but he doesn't want to be guided by anyone. That's hypocrisy, which Kali Yuga is, quarrel and hypocrisy. So as part of the mentorship program, the most important thing for a mentor is on more than one is guiding his mentees or the people under him in a very nice way. But another important thing is that he needs to be under someone. There is 2 criteria that is very important, because in this phase of life, these decades that we actually looked at, these challenges are not only for the mentees or people who are being guided, it's also for the people who are actually guiding them. It's for everyone. So if we don't have somebody to guide us or look from a third person's point of view, we might go through the challenges, and our mind is always a tricky one. It always says we are right, our decision is right, and we might actually forget the misgivings or the holes that we are actually digging up for ourselves. So that is why it's very important that we understand these different phases of life and what these different phases of life actually bring, challenges that they bring, and also understand that mentors also need to be mentored by someone else. Very similar to, like, I usually give the example of people who follow cricket. Sachin Tendulkar is the world's greatest batsman, cricket player. But there are phases in life where he actually went through a drop in form, and he had some technical glitch in his batting, and he was not scoring freely, or he was getting out for very low scores. Now where did he go? He went back to his coach who taught him during his early days, and that coach could be at max, I don't know him, but I am pretty sure that he didn't play for India. He was not international cricketer, but he could be a Ranji Trophy player for Mumbai. But he went back to him to actually ask to correct his technique and see what was the problem with this technique. And once it got corrected, then he came back as a stronger person, mentally as well as from the technical point of view. So this is the more important thing. Sometimes even the greatest of players need a coach who might not have the same charisma or the status of similar to him, but he knows him. Similarly, a mentor, even though he might be guiding so many people under him, he also needs to be guided by someone else, which is a very important point. Otherwise, if this mentor is not being taken care of, if he is going through some difficulties and is being overburdened by other things, all the people under him will also have the impact of the struggles that he is going through, because he might not be in a right mindset to actually guide them or give them proper options or guidance in their for the difficulties that they are facing. So I finished by saying that the most important thing is understanding where our stage of life is, and also understanding that the mentorship program is to care for people and to give the holistic care, not just care in one area. And also mentors, as part of the implementation, it's very important the mentors also have other people mentoring or guiding them, so that it actually becomes a holistic congregation where everybody is taken care of. Okay? Hare Krishna, thanks for your attendance. Jai Gaur Hari Bol.